Welcome everyone to the CNY Solidarity Coalition meeting. I am the coordinating committee member. I made a change to first, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the land of the Onondaga Nation and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. Also, mark on the calendars of October 8th to be Indigenous Peoples Day Festival from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Learn from the Haudenosaunee artists and local community groups, listen to speakers and Haudenosaunee singers, join in social dancing and more, and solidarity at the tape and event. Couple of announcements before we begin. Hopefully everyone received our newsletter this week and saw the new interviews. We are already getting data from sending our email through Action Network, which will help us see what our readers respond to and take action. This will help us know more about our reach and our impact. Our email list will also be more up to date and responsive. With that, though, we've come with some issues, so if you did not receive our newsletter this week, please let us know. We'll look into it. Also, let us know what you think by emailing anyone on the coordinating committee or CNY Solidarity at gmail.com. We will be tabling at the Westcott Street Fair on October 1st. If you would like to volunteer for tabling, please fill out the sign, sign up sheet going around. So, quick announcement. The Icon Project is obviously a profound, economic, social, and then almost inconceivable way altering event in Central New York lives. And about a month and a half ago, I approached Green USA and other local environmental and sustainability organizations about forming an informal coalition to gather data and communicate with the community issues surrounding environmental, sustainability, and other racial and social justice issues around the Icon Project. So, Green USA has also decided to devote the first 3 or 4 3-day lunches to the Icon Project, and they had the first one a couple of weeks ago. So there is this coalition just really getting underway, and there are 67 organizations that have agreed to participate. And one of the main goals of the coalition is actually to provide information to the community. So we will be gathering that information, putting it in an accessible place where the public can get at it, and so the public can be informed about the issues surrounding Icon. Any quick questions about that before we get into the meeting?
So, Rachel May had her announcement as well.
Oh, great. We are blessed by the presence of, can you tell who's Senator May?
Yes.
Thank you, Dick.
Sorry.
Can people see me on camera?
Yes, I got
Hi,
there.
everybody, and thank you for giving me a moment to talk to you. I have 2 issues about our democracy that I want to raise with you. One of them is I'm thrilled to see this flyer that you all have at the front of the room about low turnout in local elections silences our voices. I want you all to know we passed a bill this year in the state legislature to move county and town races to even years so that they would not be plagued by this kind of low turnout that you see in the odd years. The county legislature and the county executive control $1.5 billion budgets, and they should not be elected by these small, far less than a majority of registered voters. So I would love it if you would weigh in with the governor and ask her to sign that bill. I think it's a really important one, and she's hearing from people like our county executive that she shouldn't sign it. So we need to weigh in. I'm in favor of that. And the other one is an issue that I fought for really hard in this past budget season, but also in previous sessions, which is a public matching fund system for state races, state senate, state assembly, governor, attorney general, comptroller. We have to have a really robust public matching fund system, which I think is a game changer for our democracy at the state level. What it means is if you register for the program and you get a certain threshold of donors from within your district, those donations, small donations from $5 to $250 get matched about 10 times. A $50 donation becomes $650 in a candidate's war chest. And that's an incredible game changer. Like I said, it means that we are incentivized to reach out to our own constituents and ordinary people and not the billionaires and millionaires. And I feel like already in my campaign for next year that it's really making a difference in terms of how we strategize and how we think about outreach and that kind of thing. But as a plug for my campaign, as I'm one of the few people who may be able to make this work, I need 350 constituents to donate in that range of $5 to $250. And I am looking for ways to make this a way to really activate people who have felt disenfranchised in the election system, who feel like it's all about the big money and it's not about the rest of us. And if you have good ideas about how to meet with, say, college students or other folks who just maybe never have thought about contributing to a campaign, but this is one where their contribution can really make a difference. I would love to hear your ideas about it. We'll be going around at the West Side Fair and distributing cards, which we don't have yet, but I have a few mock-ups of them here if anybody wants one, just to educate people about this whole system as well as to help me in my campaign. So anyway, that is my message. I'm happy to take questions if you have any, but I'm really excited about this program. I have to say a lot of my Democratic colleagues were opposed to it because they see it as just giving money to your opponents to run against you. But I feel like this is making it easier for anybody to get on the ballot who wants to. So hoping you all will support it in principle as well as supporting me as I try to make it work for our district. Yeah.
Rachel, would you repeat what races it applies to, this program applies to?
Yeah, so it's only state races, so state assembly, state senate, governor, attorney general, comptroller, and lieutenant governor.
Thank you.
Good questions. All right, thank you so much, and thanks for all the good work you all do.
Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Tammy Honeywell. I'm here representing Syracuse DSA to go over some of the projects and things that they have been working on. And then I'm also going to give a little Moms for Liberty update as well. So right now, DSA is working on ongoing support for Maurice Brown with anticipating canvases and events with him. So look for announcements about that if anybody wants to be involved. Mutual Aid Committee will have a free store at the Westcott Cultural Fair on October 1st. That is usually with the DSA table, so look for that. The Labor Working Group is organizing support for the UAW strike. No UAW locals in town, but there are some in Rochester and Buffalo. I don't know if everybody has been paying attention to the updates, but there were like 39 more factories that had people walk off the job. So the strike is getting a little bit bigger. Organizing committee meets every 2 weeks, Mondays from 7:30 to 9 p.m. And that would be tomorrow would be their next organizing committee meeting. So if anybody is interested in attending, we usually have those, some of those meetings open for people to attend. DSA has also been working with me. For those who were here at the last meeting, I gave an update on Moms for Liberty in the area and talked about what has been going on there. We met, okay, let me back up a little bit. After the last time I was here giving an update, there ended up being a Moms for Liberty meeting that was scheduled for the end of August at the Cicero Library. We literally found out about it the day after the last CNY Solidarity meeting. Because the coalition hasn't essentially been formed completely yet, people gathered together and we organized a protest at the library, and we were going to be silent outside and have some other things going on inside. We did end up getting the library to put up a banned book display at the front of the library, so when people came in, that was the first thing they saw. Unfortunately, the day before their meeting was supposed to take place, they caught wind of the protest and changed the location of their meeting. The location that they changed it to was out in Oneida Shores, or no, I'm sorry, in Oneida, over by the lake on private property in a secluded area next to a rod and gun club at one of their recreation spots. And so we decided it was not good to go there for a lot of reasons. And we decided to go to the library anyways, just to see if anybody else from the community showed up. And there were people there from the community. So we utilized that time to have a meeting with everybody that did show up so we could start talking about this coalition and forming it. So that has taken place. We are starting to structure meetings. We'd like to have meetings once a month. We were going to try to do it the last Thursday of every month, but it appears that that's when Moms for Liberty wants to have their meetings. And because we were having one this upcoming week, however, we just found out Moms for Liberty is having their next meeting. It was supposed to be at SU with the community and faculty and different people at SU. Let the college know how they felt about it, and SU ended up canceling the event. So now they have rescheduled their meeting for the Blarney Stone on Tip Hill. This will be the second time the Blarney Stone has hosted them for a meeting. We are encouraging people to call. We are not sending the message of canceling small businesses. We want to make sure people understand that. However, we want to give them the opportunity to cancel this meeting if they so feel as that they should do. So things are moving forward. When we do have a set meeting date, I will make sure to update Peter and Elaine and let everybody know. If anybody wants to participate, because there's a lot that's going to be done, people can do from in their houses or attending events, please join our Facebook group that we have. It's a private group. You can contact me directly and I can give you the information on that. But that was my time. I will turn the time back over to Dick.
Hi everybody, I'm Chloe. If you guys don't know me, there's a lot of familiar faces, but some unfamiliar faces. I'm a member of SVC, and I wasn't supposed to be here, so I'm sorry for my tardiness. The SVC staff person, Aya, got in a car crash, so she's okay. Jane, don't worry, she's okay. So I'll make mine short and sweet. Our 4 committees are all having events for the neighbors of the Onondaga Nation. The Indigenous Peoples Day Festival is happening this Sunday, October 8th, or next Sunday, October 8th, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. At the Everson Museum Plaza. And some events will be inside the museum, but most of them will be outside. There will be a Thanksgiving address, social dancing, art demonstrations, and films starting at 7 o'clock. And there will be artisans and organizations tabling and lots of delicious food. This has never been done in Central New York before. We've never had a festival like this. It's always just been the movie outside the Everson. So please come for this really historic event. I'll be there, and I hope to see everybody else there. For more information on the Indigenous Peoples Day Festival, you can look at the Facebook event or at the Syracuse Peace Council website. And as for our other committees, Beyond Foreign Militarism is doing its annual Armistice Day event in collaboration with Veterans for Peace on November 11th. Planning is underway for that. Additionally, on November 12th, the inauguration of Merchants of Death People's Tribunal planning is underway. And if you don't know what that is, it's where the members of the committee attempt to hold corporations accountable for their crimes against humanity as it relates to war crimes. And that's all that I'm going to tell you. So thank you guys so much. We also have the Westcott Street Fair going on, and there are printouts by the front table. So if you're able to, please help us out at the Westcott Street Fair with tabling and letting people in the community let us know what we're all about. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And everything's on our website, syracusepeacecouncil.net. So thank you guys again.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Galichian. I'm the Senior Manager of Organizing and Strategy for Central New York with the New York Immigration Coalition. I will be sending around a slide deck later just for folks' reference about what we do, our notable wins, and some contact information. But here today, I am going to talk about a little bit where we are in immigration, especially statewide. I think the elephant in the room is always the busing of asylum seekers to upstate. So basically, just giving a little recap, this is not a crisis. It's been happening for a very long time that folks seek to come to New York State so that they can work and thrive with their families. Messaging is key here, and seeking asylum is a legal right. So a while ago, we all know Governor Abbott sending buses from Texas to New York City. New York City Mayor Adams, he's chaos, but oh well. And then .go, New York City has been contracting through COVID. And so now they are the main folks who are working to support asylum seekers leaving New York City, which we know has been very unfair and inhumane in many cases. So the NYC has been responding to this statewide. Again, we don't call it a crisis. We know that there's existing pillars in the community, especially upstate being a home for resettlement of thousands of refugees starting in 2008. And so there are pillars, right? We know this is an election year. So in the summertime, when a lot of this started to happen and it started downstate in the Hudson area, we know this is a political game using people's lives, especially, immigrants and, the stir fear around resources when we know we have an abundance of resources and we should blame capitalism and white supremacy. But that's a convo for another day. So again, we've been doing a lot of work to not only respond with our members, who some of them are those existing pillars for resettlement and transition for immigrant communities, but we've also been working on getting resources at the state level. So just so folks know, .go, who is the contractor who you've probably heard a lot about in the news, they do cover housing and food. It's not perfect, but prohibiting hotels from contracting with .go for these purposes, it's a tell-all of, where the hearts and minds of some of our elected officials, right? We say yes to some and no to others, and I'll leave it at that. But NYC has been working on the ground downstate, Hudson, the Capital Region, Buffalo, and Rochester. Each has its unique challenges. So communication and coordinated efforts, as well as advocacy, have been key in this. It is exhaustive work, but, folks are committed. And so recently, the NYC was able to secure a multi-million-dollar contract through the Office of New Americans, so the state, to be able to continue doing this work and get resources out back to those community groups like legal service providers, like, for example, Onondaga County Volunteer Lawyers Project, right? That's one of them, to respond to these situations and have the resources they need. What's been key here as well is organizing against the anti-immigrant responses. So we've been doing a lot with key allies and stakeholders to train them on messaging and press. So the resources that I've been talking about through the state, we've been able to expand just in the NYC over 22 positions across the state. So we're focusing on community engagement, which is part of advocacy and programs to work with resources. So like stakeholder and other programs upstate, dedicated to access, expanding, the immigrant populations they already work with, right? Because here it's not only about having access or living visibly, because our communities are quite invisible, but it's so that they can thrive. And our members, again, are playing a huge role in this. It's not only limited to asylum seekers. So, we're trying to find solutions with resources that really work to not exclude certain folks based on population or status, but really work to get them the resources they need and support the transition, because a lot of these folks who are coming are families, and they're looking, to just resettle and have a good life and figure out the rest, just like each and every one of us. So opportunities, of course, we always need volunteers, folks who are interested. I always direct folks to, the existing folks on the ground. I know, for example, VLP, is looking to do a lot more with volunteers, right? The Worker Center, of course, is one of our most dear members. And so, just existing immigrant populations here. And so the more resources and volunteers they're able to come across, the better we can do this work together. Again, messaging is key amongst allies. So get yourself educated. You can take a peek at the NYC resources we have. And then, of course, take lead from communities that are impacted. In other news, and let me know if I'm bad on time, but just real quick, on the federal level, DACA, for those of folks who are, hearing things, we think it's going to be fought in the Supreme Court 2024. Unfortunately, DACA, we have unfortunate news. We don't see that they will be receiving any relief anytime soon. And then on the other hand, the Biden administration just redesignated TPS for Venezuela and Afghanistan. A lot, again, is due to who is arriving and not reflective of all immigrant populations who have also been, we haven't had any other big redesignations, but there are other benefits that come from these kinds of redesignations. So these folks can still seek asylum. It's not a guaranteed win for their case. So there's still a lot of work and a lot of, the solution is to just create a pathway to citizenship for everyone. And then, of course, that allows now the redesignation also included, because of the processing time with EADs or work permits, is immediate access. So before, folks would have to wait 120 to 150 days after they applied for asylum. There's a lot of nooks and crannies. It's very complicated, but for the most part, now folks will be able to apply immediately. DHS is also going to be beefing up their capacity to get things processed quickly. Has a huge impact. And then special session, there's a lot of things that we didn't win last year. We did win something very big, $63 million for legal services funding for immigration legal services, which was huge. But these are Band-Aid fixes, of course. We're still looking to work on legislation. I'll definitely recap when we get closer. The NYC has a very extensive priority setting process, so the priorities we'll be working on next session are still not confirmed, but we can definitely, see some trends from previous years. So Access to Representation Act, which I've mentioned before, is, a mandated right to an attorney when you're in removal defense. So that would be a great solution for folks who are in this situation right now. So newcomers who are coming, this would greatly impact them. Even if we win money, there's still a big ask for immigration attorneys. So, we have resources, but, we also need more to go above and beyond. And of course, New York for All and some other things like the housing voucher program, as well as what we did win last year. And we're going to continue to work on it to include more families, all in tax-paying families, which includes undocumented or ITIN holders, which was the expansion of the Empire State Child Tax Credit. We worked really hard on that. So now children who are 3 and younger, so toddlers and babies, those households are able to also receive something for this incoming tax year. And then, of course, we know special session, when it commences, a lot of it's going to be due to, asylum seekers arriving. So there are some things on the plate, like New York Emergency Expedited Temporary Work Permit Act, Also some things around, establishing a coordinator to implement a statewide plan, and also addressing the situation with counties prohibiting municipal corporations who can cover costs associated with resettlement being prohibited by the actual municipality or county. So there's quite a few things on the plate with special session. Again, for the upcoming fiscal year, the next legislative session, which we always work on, we will be coming around with more information about exactly what those priorities are, since they are unveiled in January of 2024. So that is all I had. That was a lot of information. If folks have questions, let me know. Again, I'll share around my contact info and a slide deck I made for folks to just sort of recap on, some of our wins, some of our resources, and our mission.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So my name is Jessica Maxwell. I'm the director of the Workers Center. We're a small grassroots organization. We have our office at the Syracuse Center for Peace and Social Justice. As Kayla mentioned, we're a member of the New York Immigration Coalition. Our focus is really on economic justice and labor rights, and we're a membership-based organization. So our focus is on organizing workers in low-wage sectors, and we particularly found a niche with immigrant workers who we find are often put into the cracks of other kinds of advocacy and support work. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide.
Does that work? Okay.
And then just give a little bit of a background on us. But really that focus for us is on organizing, training, building power, and trying to create structural change. So, and you can move to the next slide. Like I said, we're going to be kind of fast. So we have a small core staff team. There's 5 of us right now who are on staff, and all of our staff are bilingual. And that's kind of the core of our team. But if you go to the next slide, you'll see really in order to do the work that we do, we have to be part of networks. So we're a member organization of the New York Immigration Coalition. We're a member organization of the National Food Chain Workers Alliance. We're a member organization of the National Alianza de Campesinas Nacional, which is a women's farm worker-led movement. And we have a lot of allies, and I don't know why that's part of this missing.
I know. I'm like missing my mouse. I don't know how to.
Oh, okay. But I don't know if those other pieces are missing, but that's okay. So we have that level of networks that we participate in order to amplify the impact of our members and our voice, since we're a small organization and we're dealing with a lot of issues that really need to be changed at the state and federal level, right? So some of our campaigns are at the employer level, but some of them go beyond that if we want to really achieve structural change. So, and we also rely on, for the kind of worker support we do, a lot of community allies and volunteers. And I know Anna Grant from the Syracuse Immigrant and Refugee Defense Network is going to talk in a little bit. And they really become a solid program of the Workers Center, doing some of that nitty-gritty on the ground support work of transportation or food deliveries or referral work, or doing research, because we're such a small team, we have a couple hundred members and we're covering a dozen different counties that we're reaching workers in. So it's very labor-intensive, the work that we do. And you can go ahead and go to the next slide. I don't know why. Okay. So we kind of look at our work in 3 different categories. The first being kind of that direct worker support. So any worker can call our number, and ask questions about salary, minimum wage, workers' comp, discrimination in the workplace. And we'll do our best to either answer the questions they have or get them a referral to a lawyer. We work with a lot of legal service organizations, Volunteer Lawyers Project, the Worker Justice Center, Hiscox Legal Aid, that we refer people out to in trickier situations. And wage theft, housing issues, especially in employer-provided housing, workers' compensation are really common issues that we deal with. We won back for workers over $40,000 worth of stolen wages last year. It's super, super, super common that people are working and not getting minimum wage, not getting overtime, doing forced overtime, or if they get fired, not getting their last paycheck. So those are just things that are really rampant, I would say.
And our economy has become really dependent on this kind of informal labor. So I would say, I guarantee you go to a local business that relies on undocumented immigrants to serve or clean or some, most of our grocery stores, most of our local hotels, lots of our restaurants, the mall are all subcontracting with these cleaning contractors that are relying on undocumented immigrant labor, and their labor practices are just atrocious, really sketchy, and they are layers upon layers of subcontractors to try to kind of insulate themselves from accountability to the Department of Labor or other kinds of tactics. Often people don't even know who they're working with. They sometimes get paid in cash, and even when they get checks, often the checks they get are actually just personal checks. And there's some LLC on the personal check, and often the bank account is out of state. It's all kinds of problems rolled in there, but it's super common in our economy. Our base is farm workers. Probably 50% of our farm workers in upstate New York and across the country are people who, we produce undocumented workers, right? People who did not come and have a particular legal immigration status under the current U.S. immigration structure. So when we start to see all this conversation about asylum seekers and negotiating over, we want expedited work permits or, are they here legally or whatnot, we don't care about that. That's a completely wrong framing. We already have a population of thousands of workers who are here, who have no pathway to work permits. They are an essential part of our economy, and for us, we need to deal with that bigger picture and not worry about how they came here. The reality is we depend on them. We can't function without this labor in our economy anymore. And these rules as it's set up are benefiting the kind of large corporate structures that rely on this labor to keep their labor costs down. And so I think for us, we just keep trying to push that message of we need an amnesty. We need a blanket amnesty, that we're not nitpicking over whether somebody has a charge or a misdemeanor or this or that, a blanket amnesty based on that people are here and working and we need them here and they're contributing in our communities. And there's just no reason for us to criminalize people's movement and people's work. So that's the perspective we're really trying to push as Speaker Governor Hochul try to manage this as a political election cycle crisis, to try to mitigate any repercussions so it doesn't come back to her, at the polls, that it's bigger than that, that it's not about just making sure we're not paying too much for shelter or can we get this particular wave faster work permits. There's much bigger issues going on. But then we meet workers where they're at and where their complaints is at. But then we're always looking for the opportunities to go further. Where is there a group of workers or a worker who wants to organize their co-workers to win a structural change or a policy change at their work site or to some law that impacts them? So we do a lot of education and organizing. We do worker member meetings. We have monthly meetings with our membership. We also do trainings. Those could be at work sites, those could be on Zoom, those could be in person, on a variety of things from wage theft to workers' comp to driver's license access or any of those kinds of things that relate to people at work and having dignified lives here. And then we're looking always for that advocacy component. So for example, during the pandemic, we saw lots of our members excluded from any kind of relief, who may have lost hours of work or because of childcare couldn't continue working and yet qualified for no support in really dire situations. We also routinely see workers who get fired for speaking up and then can't qualify for unemployment. And that leads to lots of workers accepting and tolerating really horrible conditions because there's no safety net if they get fired. Even if they know that 12 months down the road, they might win a legal case for an unjust firing, it's a huge risk because there's no support system for that 12 months. So we fought with a coalition of over 80 organizations statewide to win in 2001, you can go to the next page, the Excluded Workers Fund, which was a $2.1 billion fund we won in New York State that basically was an unemployment reimbursement for workers who did not otherwise qualify for pandemic UI or traditional federal UI during the pandemic. If they could prove that they would have qualified, because they had the paperwork, then they qualified and they got a retroactive payment of $15,000. And now we're building on that campaign for what we're calling the unemployment bridge program to say they should always qualify, not just during the pandemic. So we're pushing New York State to create a permanent parallel state-run system to the federal UI that would cover excluded workers. So that's just one example. You can go to the next one. Just a snapshot of our current work. We're doing relief work. We've gotten over $175,000 directly into the hand of farm workers, mostly immigrant workers, from the USDA relief program, the unemployment bridge program that I mentioned. We're doing a lot of work around farm worker housing conditions, and the recently won right to organize and right to unionize for farm workers. We have a special project going on. We got one of the CNY Artist Employment Project grants. And we have a writer who's working with us on staff, who's Mexican, who's doing a book project with our members. And I will leave it at that. I know I feel like there's a lot of information. I have, I'll grab quickly just to show, we have a sign-up sheet if anybody's interested in getting on our email list. And we have a little postcard left over from our 10th anniversary celebration last night. If you want to make a donation, if you have support. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Anna Grad. I'm a volunteer with the Syracuse Immigrant and Refugee Defense Network. We call ourselves SIRDN for short. I'm pretty sure that everybody's here already knows a lot about us. And and it's really easy to go after Jess because we do pretty much all of our work in piggybacking the work that the Worker Center is doing, because we're basically a volunteer arm of the Worker Center. Can you go to the next slide? The down button, probably. There you go. One up. Go back. Yeah, there we go. So this is our mission. The Syracuse Immigrant Refugee Defense Network works for immigration justice in Central New York and beyond through organizing, advocacy, and solidarity support for directly affected individuals and their families. We center the leadership of staff and members of the Worker Center of Central New York and strive to show up as allies and accomplices in the fight for human dignity for all people, regardless of their citizenship status. And basically, what this means is you have to know that we're just volunteers. We do not have any paid employees at all, but that it is invaluable for us that we can directly associate with the Worker Center. That means we can avoid all of the tasks that are associated with incorporating ourselves or managing our money. Thank you, Jessica, for continuing to do that for us. And we focus on both advocacy and direct support. So if you're itching to do something for people who are directly affected by our unjust immigration system, we're the group of people to come to. And I think Jess is going to pass around the sign-up sheet, the Worker Center sign-up sheet. And if you're interested in working with us as a volunteer, please put down your name, email address, phone number, and all that stuff, and put SIRDN into the notes. Is that sign-up sheet around someplace? Yes?
I thought I gave it to you.
Oh, you did. I forgot. Sorry. I'm going to talk more about the kinds of things we do. Can we go to the next slide? Just with their phones have an advantage because we have Okay, so Melinda has passed out a flyer, right? Everybody should have one. I'm basically following what it says on our flyer. So just gonna expand on that a little bit. So one of the big things we do is we try to educate ourselves and learn about the things that are important to the immigrant community. So for example, we do trainings to know your rights. We repeat them because we forget about stuff. Transportation training. What do you need to know when you give somebody a ride and you not have papers? How? We help people with housing support. This is something we're doing right now, and not too long ago, I don't know what to do about the echo.
Move closer to
The screen.
This way?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, but up more.
which way?
Yep, right there.
Table. Yep, there you go.
Okay, we learned about how to help people set up their own GoFundMe. Sometimes that's a really important thing for people to have access to funds for emergencies. We follow the lead of the New York Immigration Coalition and the Workers Center in terms of advocating for legislative campaigns. That means we make phone calls, we write letters, we go to Albany. Anybody can. So if you volunteer with us, that's one of the things you might be able to do. We respond to emergencies, like when somebody gets evicted for whatever reason. We might be the people that help out by making phone calls for them to figure out where there is someplace else they could live, or figure out some ways for them to get material translated for them and stuff like that. Food needs can be an emergency, and we do continue to provide people with food if necessary, or helping people with moves. So, you know, if you own a truck or something, we definitely need you. Can you go to the next slide, please? Being an advocate with someone when they have to go to an appointment can be a very important role. And believe it or not, while it's really helpful to be bilingual, you become quick friends with Google Translate when you don't know the other language that you need to know. And it helps. What's important is that we can provide some of that insider knowledge about what is required at the DMV, that we can help people understand the rules. Arranging for court support. We have many times supported people in getting to Buffalo somehow. That's where immigration court is located. To arranging for either car or bus transportation. Bus transportation is easier these days than it used to be. And we help them connect with volunteers in Buffalo who can give them local support. If someone requests it and we can supply it, we will witness court hearings. We will be there to support people through our presence. That varies whether people need or want that, but we have done that in recent memory. Providing transportation is probably the thing that comes up the most often to medical, legal, or DMV appointments. We haven't done things like taking people to the grocery store, although occasionally when we know someone and they come to us, we help them with all kinds of little details. It's a great need. We have a bunch of people on our list who can do this. But, you know, for the person to be available right now or tomorrow at 2 p.m., that's the hard part, okay? Or when it's somebody who lives far away and it requires a 1 hour trip out, a 1 hour trip back, and another trip back out and back, then you need 2 people. So the more people we have to help with transportation, the better. The Ratero system is extremely expensive for people. Assisting people with interpretation needs, food access, with worker center events like the big party the worker center had yesterday, or their soccer tournament, and helping people with fundraising, like when they have food fundraisers or something like that. So you can see there are huge numbers of tasks. It's hard to summarize them in a short amount of time. And we don't put pressure on anyone to do this right now. Okay, so if you're one of those people who says, I have a little bit of time, I don't want to involve myself in something that requires something from me every week. Well, there are some of us who do work on this every week or every day with me, right? And then there are some of us who only do something when we can, and nobody will put pressure on. Allocating limited funds for transportation, gas, commissary, when people are in detention, emergencies. We have limited funds. We had way more during the pandemic. All donations are welcome. please donate through the Worker Center, make a check out to the Worker Center and with certain in the memo line. So the practical detail of what you can do. We go to the next slide. Oh, there it is. So first of all, sign up on that sign-up sheet that is going around. I hope that you're passing it around. And you will get on our listserv, which is not a very busy listserv. We keep it to announcements, basically. Sometimes something informational comes along. We will be doing orientation meetings on October 11th and October 12th. That's very good for people who are new, and it's also a way that you can then join our Signal chatting system, which will give you more information. Coming to our Zoom meetings, volunteering for specific tasks, even if you do not want to come to the meetings, is very welcome. You can, when you sign up on that sheet, that doesn't mean you sign up for everything. It means that we get in touch with you and figure it out. And this is an easy one. Follow us on Instagram, please, and amplify our messages. We finally figured out how to use Instagram. Help us become prepared for an active role should there be a greater influx of asylum seekers here in Central New York. Donate money and pick up a flyer, which you've already done. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for welcoming me. My name is Tyler Worrell. I'm the new Executive Director of the Urban Jobs Task Force of Syracuse. I don't have a long presentation. I just wanted to meet everyone and to greet everyone. I'm very excited to be on board. I'm excited to see what work that we'll do together. In the, I would say, next few weeks, I plan to have a meet and greet, which you will definitely have the date to once it's solidified. And during this meeting, I would like for us to bring all of what we have to the table and start to formulate a few ideas to strategically plan for the upcoming year. As far as any Urban Jobs Task Force updates, we also have Aggie here on the line, so I'll allow her to speak to anything that's pending. So thank you again. I look forward to meeting everyone, and I hope that you all enjoy your day. I believe what I heard is that you're looking for clarity on what the Urban Jobs Task Force of Syracuse is and what specifically my role will be in the I-81 project.
Yeah.
Okay. Gladly. So Urban Jobs Task Force is here to advocate and fight for disadvantaged Syracusians, minority people as well, in the fight for economic equity. That's really what our mission is. When it comes to the I-81 project, long before I even came here, a group of wonderful people were advocating for jobs through project labor agreements. And we were able to raise the percentage from what, let's say, federal requirements of 3% to 15%. And we're very, very close to seeing those numbers being met. So my specific role in regards to I-81 is really to continue to learn and to continue to hold people accountable for what they said that they would be doing. As another part of my charge, I will be taking on the Micron project, starting to build relationships there and set goals that we haven't completely solidified as to what direction we're going to go in, but we have a little bit of an idea. So again, really open and willing to work with everyone. I think that the CNY Solidarity Coalition will be an amazing part to helping us with our research. We just have to talk a little bit more about it. And then another thing of my charge is to, now that we're a 501c3, really formulate our organizational structure and get our strategic planning on way. So I have a lot of moving pieces, and I'm excited to do the work. But it's going to take a little bit of planning and time, and it's going to take, honestly, all of you helping me. So did I answer the questions, and are there any more questions? Absolutely. Thank you. And I'll let Aggie give any crucial pending updates right now.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Aggie Lane, and I'm the treasurer of Urban Jobs Task Force.
And as Tyler said, we fight for economic equity for Syracusans. And the main thing that we've been fighting for almost 12 years is something called local hire. And that means is getting goals on projects that are specific to hiring Syracusans on what we consider good construction jobs. So for years, we had been pushing the Syracuse Industrial Development Agency, just one second, and to actually implement a local hire on all the development projects going on in Syracuse. And we were able and successful in that as of this January. And so now when developers get tax breaks, they have to hire 10% of their the project labor has to go to Syracusans, and 10% of the contracting dollars have to go to minority and women-owned businesses. That's the kind of thing we fight for. As Tyler said, we got a 10% local hire on the I-81 project. The first contract, which was on the Cicero interchange, they're getting 13.5%. So we, as Tyler said, we go and we monitor that through actually a monthly meeting with the DOT. They're about to start contract 2, which will be the Brighton interchange. And that will be easier for Syracusans to get to because it's it's more local. It's within the city limits. And I guess we fought in 2014 to get a 20% local hire on the joint school construction project. There are 4 phases. So that was on phase 2. It just ended. And so some of our work will to be making sure that we get another 20% on phase 3, which is about to start up. And the last thing is we did last year, which CNY Solidarity was part of, as most of our members were. We sent a sign-on letter to the Onondaga County Industrial Development Agency, because with the rules changing, we were worried that developers would game the system and go to the county's IDA and get the tax breaks like they did in 2015. The Aspen student housing, the core development of Inner Harbor, and Destiny's Hotel, Embassy Suites. They all went around the city to get what they wanted. So we asked OSIDA to put it in their policy not to accept applications for city projects. It had been their policy, except for those 3 projects, over since 1970. They wrote back and said that is their policy. So at least that we got that something in writing. And I guess last to say that we're delighted to have Tyler aboard. There is so much to do. And, we need Tyler to be at all those tables to help us keep the gains that we have and to solidify more gains, as with Micron and whatever. So that's our report. Thanks.
So hello, I know you guys are used to seeing Vanessa. I am not the new Vanessa, but I'm somebody working with Vanessa in NYCLU. I started about 7 months ago. And I'm just gonna talk briefly on some things that you do know and some things that you may not know. NYCLU is the ACL chapter in New York State. We're one of the oldest chapters. We have 9 regional offices. We do work all across the state. In every major venue. You're probably most familiar with us working on 81, but in my role as senior organizer for Central New York, In my role at as organizer in Central New York, my job is split 60-40. So I work 60% on statewide issues, 40% on 81 issues. Lately, it feels like the other way around. I work mainly on 81 issues because we're at a pivotal time right now. But I'm just going to talk about a couple of the issues that are campaign issues, statewide issues that we work on that aren't known. One is New York for All campaign. We work for immigrants' rights. We work along with the NYCLU, and that campaign is ramping up at the end of the year, and more information to come. Another one would be the 58 campaign. Out of the murder of George Floyd, there was new legislation that came about, which allowed NYCLU lawyers to foil all the police departments, most major police departments throughout the state, asking them for more transparency, asking them what police officers have been frequently disciplined, what patterns we see on pullovers all around the state. I'm sorry, I'm blessed, so very lucky. All around the state. And also what police officers have been disciplined on a rolling basis. Initially, they came back and they said, we'll get you that information in 7 years. And then we went back and said that wasn't acceptable. And we did receive, Syracuse was one of the first police departments to provide some information on transparency. And you can find that information on our website. And also you'll probably, you'll see the larger flyer that was cast out that will be sort of rolling out all of that information and data along with the panel discussion on October at Community Public Arts Center. Next, we have housing. As you probably know, housing is in a crisis right now. The prices of rent is up, supply and demand, specifically in Syracuse, New York, is very low. So a lot of things that are happening are not equitable for individuals to get safe, affordable housing. On a statewide level, NYCLU is looking to adopt housing as one of their core issues. And along with that comes community land trusts as an alternative to not only saving land, but developing affordable housing in an equitable way inside of communities that is sustainable. And so, as you know, I want to thank the CNY Solidarity in general. We had a rally some time back. I saw a lot of your faces there. Thank you, Peter. We have an I-81 working group. See Barry, Mary, there's Jackie in the back. They're part of the working group, along with other people. And this working group for I-81 is open to the public. You're welcome to join. Every other Tuesday, we talk about I-81 issues. We talk about how the community land trust is coming along, things that we need. We don't talk about the community land trust as much because that's a separate group and board, but we touch on these issues and we also keep each other up to date on different things that are happening in the community. And you're welcome to join if you like. I'll give you my card. Opportunities to engage. So one is volunteer. We have a volunteer convening coming up, and what does that mean? I know that this group of dedicated individuals have thousands of opportunities to volunteer. With NYCLU, we have tabling opportunities. If there's an issue that we work on that's passionate to you, it could just be us having regular conversations about that, keeping you in the know of what's going on so that you can educate people around you and become an issue expert. I'm working on clergy and faith-based communities, just having a quarterly meeting with them so that they can be educated, so that they can educate people that they come in contact with. I think that communication is so important in our community. A lot of times we have a lot of rhetoric, and I like for people to have facts so that they can move accordingly. We also do know your rights trainings on a multitude of different subjects. So if you have an organization or a group of people you want us to come in and do a know your rights training, we're open to doing so. Lastly, I want to uplift two other departments that's not necessarily my department, but it's new to NYCLU. One is, as you know, Nessa, she was the director of environmental justice, and she has been elevated to the Center of Racial Justice for New York State. So this is a great opportunity to work on a myriad of issues because New York State, like unlike other states that have centers of racial justice to work on these specific issues, New York State now has one. And the person running it is from Syracuse, and that's a great thing, right? The other thing is Indigenous justice. We have on our team, her name is Cassandra Minair, and Cassandra is actually from the nation on the res, and she works on issues out of our education center. The currently, I know she's working on is the fact that the nation school, the elementary school, is ran by the Onondaga Central School District. Many times, the resources that they receive are small percentage of what goes to the other school. The level of education, just the building, really, is not up to par, and they have the funding to do so. And we're trying to figure out, it's not exactly where I'm starting, but we're looking into why that is. Writing letters, doing what you need to do to fix it. For an example, the front doors on the schools of the nation, they haven't been able to lock in years. They don't close all the way. It creates a situation where the students are safe, and it's just an injustice all around. So we have, I think, a real gem in Cassandra from being there and also working for NYCLU. She can tap into the statewide resources that we have to create a safe learning environment that all kids should be placed in. I think that's all. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, I'm here. And if not, we can roll on to the next person.
I'm going to say just a couple of words about Families for Life Freedom. Okiana wasn't feeling well, was unable to be here with us today. But I've had some contact with her over the years, so I'll speak very briefly. Families for Life Freedom represents people primarily in the inner city who have been living in buildings that are full of lead poison, primarily lead paint. Shanna will tell you she has an adult brother who is pretty disabled as a result of lead poisoning as a child. Lead poisoning, there is no cure for the damage that does to the brain. And for our children in Syracuse that are being infected by this, and neither the county or the city has really lived up to their obligations to deal with the landlords, to do the testing, do the remediation, to make sure that these things happen. So, and you know, Shanna, I've heard indirectly from her a couple of weeks ago, and she wanted to say she's very grateful for what the CNY Solidarity provided that over the years. Showing up at some of the rallies, we wrote letters, we tried to do that, so it's important work. Anybody have a question about that? Kim?
With the new county van that they have purchased, do we know if they are actually doing lead testing? Because I've been hearing conflicting reports.
County purchased an van to get out there and do lead testing, and they made a big announcement, and as far as we know, the van is parked somewhere. That's what
The reason I ask is because Ryan McMahon at the last debate was telling people that testing is being done out of this van, and I know we're getting conflicting reports from other entities.
Ryan McMahon claimed that the testing was being done.
Yeah.
Jackie?
Yeah, I can speak to that. It's definitely frustrating, and I reached out to Ryan McMahon's office personally as the Southside Coalition, and they kind of kick it back and forth, right? So Ryan McMahon's office is supposed to be the ones who set the dates. To date, there's been 5 children, imagine, since school started, being tested. The monitoring part was also the part that was supposed to be involved in it. So I think we need to maybe, and I don't know what you think here, about just pressing in with letters and even phone calls to Ryan McMahon's office. If with this beautiful shiny bus, And they're just kind of rolling it out, and now all of us have this same question, and even the director of the land program couldn't seem to answer it other than talk to the Ryan McMahon's office. And since he's running, this might be the opportune time. Also, Peter, on that level, now here's a question, I know you can't answer Families for Land. Is there room for conversation with respect to other groups that are now formed as a result of families are becoming homeless? My organization actually works with an organization, and they just got passed yesterday we basically rehab the housing we can grant from people who basically making a deal with them, in other words, a family home or something that's not being used just as an alternative to not being in these shelters and in the hotels. So at some later point, I'll reach out to your organization with this new little grassroots organization that we work with, and they actually identify the families that we are kind of rolling up our sleeves and doing the work, and hopefully it'll be something that can be sustainable, in the coming future.
I do know that Families for Lead Freedom is working on an ask for community members, and it does include some letters. At this point, I don't know where they're asking those to be directed. So if you could, you could do anything you want. It doesn't hurt to also write letters to the county executive. But there will be something coming out, and it may be even as soon as Tuesday's newsletter from us. Our newsletter.
Okay, this is a good time for me to mention this, that for all of our partner organizations, every week in our newsletter, we have a section called Action Alerts. And there could be a number of things in the action alert. It might say, call your congressman. It might say, click on this link and you can send an email to the governor. It might say, please write a letter like this. It might say, our organization needs volunteers. Go to this link and find out. I need stuff to put there. Sometimes I'm looking for things to put in the action alert. So open invitation to all of our organizations. Send us stuff. You can do it by responding to the email each week. We'll get that. You can do it on a website where it says contact CNY Solidarity. You'll go to the same place. You can send an email to cnysolidarity@gmail.org. So there's lots of ways at Gmail. There's lots of ways to contact us, get something in the newsletter, and those action alerts. We've run into people, different people, and they say, I do that stuff, I click on the link, I make the phone call, I write the letter. So it's a very effective way to reach people.
So Greening USA is up next, and they're
I am here. I'm John Prespiora, Vice President for Greening USA. I'm a founding board member. On this title slide, I put our mission statement, which kind of defines us in a nutshell. Greening USA advocates for sustainable communities to the benefit of local economies and environments. So we got started in March of 2003 with a group of design and construction professionals kind of said, hey, what can we do to help Syracuse out, grow economically? How can we bring the green revolution to Syracuse? Because that might have, that's what we thought was the next best thing in terms of economic development coming down the pike. Back then. And so a group of us got together and we adopted some goals to promote, support, and advocate for sustainable communities. We had intentions, but never quite met them to develop a national membership base, with strong financial sponsorship. But that really never transpired. We're pretty much a Central New York organization. And one of our other significant goals was to foster synergy, awareness, and linkages with other like-minded organizations. So in And a year later, we got our certificate of incorporation from the state of New York. We elected our founding board members, and you'll see a lot of these people were architects, engineers, lead certified professionals. Most notably Dave Ashley. So many of you probably know, who has since passed away, was the linchpin that really was the driving force behind us the creation of Greening USA. We created it as a membership organization, and we pretty much live our budget based on membership dues, $40 per year, and donations with the generosity of our members and others. So you too can become a member. I know that many of you are familiar with us, and we've had good relationships with, even recognizing some of you with our award program. The current board of directors is shown here. There are 5 of us. We have places for 12 people on our board of directors. So if anybody is interested in working more closely with a sustainability promoting organization, we would love to hear from you if you're looking for some volunteer work to help the cause. Diane Brandley put this up on our website, that we all have 2 choices. We can say that I'm only one person and use that as an excuse to wallow in despair or inaction, or we can choose to take action. And I know a lot of people here have taken action in many, many different ways, and it's inspiring to hear from all of you today. But in a sense, Greening USA is another one of those groups that got started when like-minded people got together and said, what can we do? So just before I tell you a little bit about some of our programs and things that we have been doing, I just want to sort of just go over sustainability, because it's kind of a big term that people may not be totally aware of. But Greening USA kind of relied on the United Nations definitions of those things from the 1987 Buntland report, that sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Pretty simple. Later on, the Agenda 21 resolution had a chapter on local authorities' initiatives, and it asserted that because so many of the problems and solutions being addressed by the Agenda 21, the climate change, sustainability agenda, have their roots in local activities, the participation and cooperation of local authorities will be a determining factor in determining and fulfilling the objectives. So these 2 provisions guided Greening USA and its programs that it created. One other provision that guides us is the idea that to be sustainable, that you have to look beyond the customary financial rate of return on monetary capital investment and balance the environment, economics, and social equity concerns. So those things guide us, and with those things as guiding principles, we have developed several activities to carry out our mission. I'm going to go over briefly each one of these 7 items. Give you just a little bit of background. So the first thing, or one of the first things we did, was develop the 12 traits of a sustainable community, which has really kind of become our calling card, a set of guidelines from governmental leadership, the economic resilience, land use planning, transportation, water-related infrastructure, green buildings and housing, and renewable energy, waste material management, culture, arts, and entertainment, public education, public health and safety, and last but not least, community engagement. So that was part of, at first, a document which we call the Community Self-Assessment Manual, or in short term was the Community Rating System. That's, at the time, the LEED rating system was available for buildings. We looked around and said, we need a LEED rating system type program for communities, so they can kind of take an assessment, a self-assessment. So we developed this rating system. Subsequently, we added a policy manual for sustainable communities, which kind of got rid of the metric building process and just stated different policies which we believed communities should be following. Another major thing that Greening USA does is the Change Agents News Digest. This is kind of just a compilation, a cut and pasted version to fit on the screen of some of the things you might see if you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, which comes out about twice a month, sometimes a little bit less frequent than that, but essentially providing the community a compilation of sustainability related events and programs and educational resources and opportunities that we are aware of. So we've been doing that pretty much from the real early days of Greening USA, is circulating this news digest. Green Bag Lunch has been one of our centerpiece programs since 2012. At the early stages, we partnered with Syracuse University's Center of Excellence building, and who graciously donated space to us to hold monthly forums on sustainability topics, second Friday of the month at noontime. During the pandemic, we switched over to all virtual, and here's a list of some of the topics that we held presentations on. And I extend the invitation to any of you to come and to be a participant in Green Bag Lunch, and to be a featured speaker or participate in as a panelist, and to talk about your organizations, your needs, what's working, what's not working. The whole idea is to try to figure out if something's not working, what can we do to make it better? And if something is working, how do we broadcast that widely? And let's see, this not quite the last item on my list, but just advocacy, education, and working together is a central tenet of Greening USA. We do as many tablings as we can. We could use more volunteers to do that kind of activity. Here you see a picture down below at one of the Green Bag lunches, and our poster working together. But Greening USA's mission is primarily as an educational 501c3 organization. So we spend most of our time just doing that kind of educational activity. Our annual meeting is a big event. We've often called it, the big tent event, where the audience has been asked to be the guest speakers and the panelists by presenting what their organization is doing, what they see as things that need to happen in the community to solve and to make us a better, more sustainable place to live. And at those annual meetings, we present our community, sustaining our community awards. CNY Solidarity was a recipient a few years back. And I think of the members here today, the Urban Jobs Task Force was also recognized as a Sustaining Our Community Awards firm. We felt from almost the beginning of our organization that recognizing those unsung heroes in our community of doing things was an important way to share those stories and to promote sustainability. And finally, one of our most recent sort of initiatives, which is still in progress, is the creation of a so-called CNY Sustainability Coalition. This was motivated by the Immigrant project moving into Syracuse and the need for the proper environmental reviews to take place to do this project right. So we reached out to these organizations and said, let's talk about what needs to be done. How can we work more closely together to make sure the Immigrant project, at least our voices are heard and made stronger by all of us working together. So as I said, this is in progress. Dick Kornbluth has been working with us, representing the CNY Solidarity group, and we appreciate Dick's input and help. Dick has attended many of our board meetings even before the Immigrant project as kind of a consultant, we call him, as a community representative.
Thank you, John. We're kind of out of time. Do you have any more slides?
Nope. Thank you very much. And I was hoping that there might be time for questions, but and if you have them, if we don't have time, you can put them in the chat. And so let me stop my share. And back here.
Great, thank you so much. And next up, we have Andra with Agree, which is a similar topic as well. So that will be great to hear from as well.
So I'm with Alliance for a Green Economy. My name is Andra, and I am the program director. Agree is located in Syracuse, but we've now hired some staff who are located in New York City, and we've always worked statewide. And this is really helpful for us now to have staff that are in other places than Syracuse. We do public education about renewables and energy efficiency, and we also work in the regulatory realm. We get involved in proceedings at the Public Service Commission and in utility rate cases, and we help people and other organizations to have a voice in these regulatory proceedings. We do trainings, we help develop public comment opportunities. Recently, we've also been participating in the legislative realm, helping originate and promote passage of bills that would help the transition to a sustainable, renewable, affordable, and equitable energy system. So one of the new programs that Agree is involved in is the Energy Smart CNY campaign. It kind of grew out of the Heat Smart CNY program that you all know about. You may recall that Agree has participated in other campaigns like Solarize Syracuse, Solarize CNY, before the Heat Smart CNY. This Energy Smart CNY is the same great team of Agree and CNY Regional Planning and Development Board, with the addition of Greater Syracuse Works and more staff. So this Energy Smart program is a nonprofit, community-focused initiative that provides information about technologies and tax incentives. Lindsay Spear, Chris Carrick, and 5 additional staff at Agree, including our outreach coordinator, Suran Mudliar, and 4 energy advisors, are already making a difference in our region. So this program was set up to be a one-stop shop for everyone in our 5-county area to be able to connect with all kinds of renewable energy and energy efficiency opportunities, incentives, and credits. So you just need to reach out to the one place and you can get information that's relevant to our region. It's funded by NYCLU to help New Yorkers, including individuals, small businesses, and affordable housing owners, be able to access all these opportunities. And I'll make sure that we get the links into the newsletter in the coming weeks so that you can sign up to find out more. Another program that we're really excited about is the Renewable Heat Now campaign. We are one of the founding organizations, and now it's up to 20 statewide groups who've joined together to accelerate the adoption of ground source and air source heat pumps in New York to reduce the amount of fossil fuels that we use to heat and cool our homes and workplaces. We educate the public about heat pumps. We also advocate for New York State policies that will enable all New Yorkers to afford to make that switch. And one of the policies that we're advocating for is the New York Heat Act. And the HEAT in New York HEAT stands for Home Energy Affordable Transition. So this important piece of legislation would help lower gas utility bills for low and moderate income households. It would stop new gas pipelines from being built, which we, the ratepayers, always have to pay for if they build them. It would allow utilities to provide clean heating and cooling technologies, not just gas. And it would align utility law with New York's Climate Act, as is recommended by the State Climate Plan. Last session, the New York Heat Act passed in the Senate, where the sponsor was Senator Krueger with co-prime sponsor Senator May. And the act was gaining strength, visibility, and popularity statewide. However, it did not get brought to a vote in the Assembly last session. Throughout the summer, we've been working on it, and we have now gotten the number of Assembly co-sponsors to 70. And now, this fall, we're resuming the grassroots pressure work. So the best chance for this bill to pass would be for it to be incorporated into the executive budget of Governor Hochul. Otherwise, it has to clear multiple committee hurdles in both the Senate and Assembly again this year. So right now, we decided that we are going to be laser focused on the governor. And so in order to build our grassroots people power, build momentum and excitement, and get New York Heat into the executive budget, we are hitting the road. We are going to have music and hot chili and storytelling and action steps. And we're going to be taking this traveling hot chili tour to 16 places across New York State. And the goal is to build up this grassroots pressure in a joyful way and encourage Governor Hochul to include the New York Heat Act in her executive budget. So Syracuse is having an event on Wednesday, October 11th, from 6 to 8 p.m. We will bring the hot chili, interactive storytelling, and action steps that you can take. And we'll be gathering at the Syracuse Center for Peace and Social Justice at 2013 East Genesee Street. And I will also send the powers that be at CNY Solidarity all the appropriate links so that you can sign up for that event and also share with your friends the events that are taking place across the state in the other 15 locations. One purpose of this tour is to get people aware that we're mobilizing to go to Albany on December 6th. And our enticement is, if you sign up to come with us, you get a t-shirt. And here's the new design for our t-shirts. So I'll just leave you with this. Hope to see many of you at the Wednesday, October 11th event, 6 to 8 p.m. at 2013 East Genesee Street. We'll have plenty of food, we'll have plenty of information, and we'll have plenty of ways for you to get involved. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Andy Major with Syracuse Cultural Workers.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Andra, for that presentation. So Many of you, I think, are aware of Syracuse Cultural Workers. We're a national publisher that's been based here in Syracuse for a little over 40 years now. We grew out of the Syracuse Peace Council and have always been very much of a movement publisher, publishing products to help build and support social movements and people who participate in those movements. So the Peace Calendar is our sort of signature product, which I'll show an image of right here. This is the cover for the 2024 Peace Calendar, which is available now. And the Peace Calendar was published by the Syracuse Peace Council for the first 11 editions, and then they stopped it and has been published by cultural workers since then. So it's a really powerful intersectional effort to inspire people to get involved with social action, and it addresses a wide range of issues every year. So I'm not going to do lots of slides here. So we're coming into our most important time of the year for us to survive, which is the fall season when people are buying gifts for folks. So you can buy the calendars, posters, cards, books, T-shirts, all kinds of things to, again, support your movements, to encourage other people to think in more activist terms, and to bring people together. So we're also at a pretty difficult time for us as a business. Historically, we always are challenged after a Democrat replaces a right-wing Republican. So this is the third time in our history. First, when Clinton was elected, we faced this issue. When Obama was elected, and then again now also. So our sales go down in the same way that movement organizing groups like CNY Solidarity don't have the same level of public support as was happening when Trump was president, and people were terrified of the prospects ahead of us. Most of us on this call know that things are no less frightening in many ways, particularly as the 2024 election approaches us, that the kind of mobilization and organizing and activism that we've been engaged in remain critical. But somehow folks who buy our products don't keep up with that sort of same energy. And that historical pattern is combined now with the fact that wages are rising, that after the pandemic, people are being more choosy about where they're working and what they're willing to work for. And one of our challenges throughout our history is that we barely scrape by economically, so our wage scale is very low. So we're really in a particularly dangerous situation in terms of the survival of the business. So there's lots of ways that people can help us to move through this, and we're working hard to look at particularly increasing our digital marketing this fall, and also just reaching out generally to folks who care about the work we do. We sell to between 5,000 and 10,000 people every year across the country, as well as to museum shops, independent bookstores, food co-ops, organizations that use our products. So first thing that I'd ask you to think about doing is to use our resources both for movement work, for the organizing work you're doing, but also for education and for gifts. Think about posters that we have that some teachers would benefit from having up in their classrooms. Think about folks who might like a really nice T-shirt as a gift, like the one I'm wearing, which is one of our classic designs. And you can, we're online at syracuseculturalworkers.com, and we also have a store at 400 Lodi Street on the near north side. It's just around the corner from both Art Rage Gallery and the Dr. Weeks School. A second thing is to spread the word about what we do. We send out emails a couple of times a week, and you can sign up to get those emails on our website. We also post regularly on social media platforms, the broad range of them. And if you would, when you see things, share them, particularly with people who you think might resonate with our products. And please think about doing that both with people here in central New York as well as people across the country, and if you have those connections across the world. Although international shipping is really, really crazy expensive. So a third piece is to think about ways that you might collaborate with us organizationally. We regularly are looking to partner with groups to further your work with visual resources, posters for demonstrations or campaigns, T-shirts as part of what you're doing, buttons, stickers, etc. And there's a variety of times where we, as part of that, are happy to donate things to support organizations as part of that collaboration. And I didn't say earlier, but should add here that that we pay royalties to artists that we work with. We work with artists both here in central New York and across the country, and also for products that are sort of clearly part of particular aspects of our movement. We donate royalties to those organizations, so that our Black Lives Matter related products, we pay royalties to Black Lives Matter Syracuse. For our Deep Roots of Democracy products, which highlight the Haudenosaunee contributions to the development of democracy in the United States, we donate royalties to the Onondaga Nation. So we really try to be accountable in the work that we're doing. And then two last points. One is that we're always looking for new ideas for how to market and reach new people, new organizations, or sales. And connected with that, we've had trouble finding new staff who are really excited about and committed to our mission. And I mentioned earlier that one of our challenges is that we pay low wages, but we offer very satisfying work, and being part of this broad movement that we're all here because we're participating in and believe in so deeply. So if you or you know someone who has excitement and skills about these issues, feel free to have them reach out to me directly. Yeah, so I know we're a bit over time, so I'll cut it there. Happy to answer questions if there are any, or follow up with people outside of the meeting.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Okay, Andy, if you want to put the link to your website in the chat, that would be probably great.
Brilliant idea. Thank you, Elaine.
I want to really thank all our presenters. Coordinators of HR, thank you. These are the people that are doing the work that we support. And coordinating committee, we asked ourselves, can we really do that? Can we really get 10 or 11 groups in 2 hours? And somehow we did. And it was really gratifying to have all these people in one place, in multiple places, talking about the work that is so important to us. Every year, we ask our members in one way or another, are we doing the right work? And there are some themes that come up over and over that have to do with peace and anti-militarism, that have to do with climate and environment, and then have to do especially what comes up over and over with defending the rights of marginalized and excluded groups in our communities. And so we know that our active membership tends to be white, east side, middle class, but very, very supportive of the work that all these presenters and organizations are doing. And so we want to thank them for being here and for allowing us to be their partners in this work. The websites for all these organizations are on the paper copy of the agenda that's on the back table. They'll be in the newsletter, so you have contact information to get in touch with all of them. Any last comments before we close? Jackie.
So here, hi everybody. We have the political forums, because as we know, there's a local election coming up, and that's going to be on the quad table citywide. So if you know anyone who would be interested, just come and listen and ask questions for whomever wants our votes. That's the red, white, blue that I failed to mention that I'm on the table.
Thanks, Immigrant. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you next time. Stay healthy.